Um,
Hold, and we're recording.
and today we have a special guest. It is my dearest friend, Steven, zooming in all the way from the ATX. What's up, Steven? How are you doing?
Gentlemen, it's good to be here. I'm doing well.
And he's one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since first grade. So that's, it's crazy and rare to have a friend for so very, very long. And James, how are you doing?
I'm doing well on a business trip right now.
So yeah, this is our very first virtual podcast. We're in a Zoom meeting, and it's going pretty. Yeah, Zoomtastic. It's going pretty well. And Jamie, today we are drafting what?
Superhero best moments.
Yeah, the best superhero moments in film. This is live action film. We banned animation again. We banned it in our family movie draft, and we're banning it again here. I think Enter the Spider-Verse, Mask of the Phantasm have really awesome moments that we just kind of wanted to focus on the live action here. Now, this can be moments of heroism, acts of grace and mercy, feats of strength, moments of awe and wonder, those sequences that give you chills every time you watch the movie, or just general superhero badassery. So, gentlemen, I think we're mainly sticking to Marvel and DC. What do you guys, y'all?
For the
Marvel and DC?
For the most part, but I do have some outliers here and there.
Now, these are superhero moments, not supervillain moments. So that will be a separate draft. And Steven, we've already kind of decided, since you're in on this one, you're going to be in on the supervillain draft.
That's good. I've got a lot of favorite supervillains, so I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Speaking like supervillains, they can make or break a superhero movie, a comic book movie.
Sure.
So like the MCU has a lot of really poor supervillains, especially in the Iron Man movies, some of the Captain America. Red Skull is okay, I guess, but we're not talking about supervillains. We're talking about the superheroes and the great moments that
get off of Hugo Weaving. Let's talk about superheroes.
Right. Well, we can talk about Hugo Weaving because he plays a superhero in V for Vendetta.
Well, this is, I think, though, and we've talked about this, and I'm a bit of a Marvel fanboy, though.
Yes, for sure. And I'm a bit of a DC fanboy.
And I was a Marvel fanboy before Marvel movies were any good. So I would like to put that in now.
And Marvel hipster.
A little bit.
Well, you were a comic. We had the comics and the cards growing up. Our oldest brother, Daniel, had I don't know if you ever seen the giant boxes bananas come in. Steven, I know you hate bananas, but the giant boxes bananas come in, and it was just filled with comics. He's a Fantastic Four fanatic.
Yeah.
Alliteration. So I guess we'll start off with doing do you have something to say, Jamie?
Well, I was going to explain that we were doing a snake draft this time.
Yes, we are doing it. This one's a little more niche instead of wide open like the last two drafts we did.
All right. So Ian is going to...
Jamie, you want to explain a snake draft for those who don't know what that means?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. This is basically kind of what's done in fantasy football drafts. And so the first person... they get their pick and you go down the line, and then the last person to get a pick gets to start the next round. So whoever gets first pick will be last in the second round, and the person in the middle, in our case, will stay in the middle and have a happy medium.
Right. So it kind of evens out. I mean, less top heavy, less people have better chances to get better players. That's why they do it in fantasy football.
And we think that this time there's going to be a little bit more potential for crossover and pick stealing, which might have some good conflict between us. But we'll all get to talk about our moments. But at the end, we will see who comes up with the best team. And I think to decide who gets that coveted first pick, Ian, we're going to play your actor category game where we all have to name a movie that the actor was in succession.
Yeah, and we have chosen Robert Downey Jr. in honor of superhero moments. So, Steven, you are our guest. You're going to start it off. RDJ movies, go.
So,
you can name sequels, by the way.
We can name sequels. Are we saying all Avengers, all MCU movies are on the table?
Oh, yeah.
Then I'll start with Iron Man 1.
Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 3.
Avengers. The Avengers.
Avengers Age of Ultron.
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Infinity War.
Captain America Civil War.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
It's good. Thor.
Is he in Thor? Is
he
in
is
the
in
post-credits?
the post-credit scene of Thor.
What's the post-credit scene of Thor?
It is Tony Stark being approached by...
I thought that's the end of Iron Man.
No, it's the end of Thor.
I'm not going to look it up, but I'll take it.
He's there, trust me.
Okay, I'm going to say The Judge.
Oh, man.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes 2, Curse of the Black Pearl.
No.
Is it just, what is the name of it? Into Darkness?
Yeah.
Okay, we know there's a second one. We'll give it to you.
Thank you. I am the guest.
I'm going to say Due Date.
I'm out.
You're out?
Oh, nah,
okay.
I'm out.
Jamie's out.
There's a movie I was thinking of, and I can't come up with it. It's a period flick, and it's like the 1700s. It's like Baroque. He plays some ne'er-do-well that's very much like his past self, but I can't think of the flick, and I gotta look it up.
Okay. Steven, to you, buddy.
Just recently watched this one, Zodiac.
Ooh. That one's not on my radio. That's not on my radar at all. He's in the new
long.
Dr. Dolittle film, which I heard was terrible.
It was okay. Beans. I might be out. Call it.
All right.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
That's one.
All right.
I gotta look
Tropic
up
Thunder.
Tropic
Thunder.
That's an iconic performance, too.
Are we allowed to talk about Tropic Thunder?
No, we're super not.
Well, it's
not his performance anyway.
Well, I think people think it's okay. And the general consensus is like, yeah, it's fine because
it's satirical.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with satire is that people get bent out of shape about it. But that's the point.
All right.
I'm an English teacher. Jonathan Swift is all about it.
Here we go. We're getting into round one of best superhero moments draft. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do
All right.
it.
So this is my first pick. And this is a scene that I think is not only one of the best in superhero film, but one of the most powerful in recent cinema history, period. And that is Wonder Woman, No Man's Land. The scene where Steve Trevor is telling her that no man can cross here. And I'm just getting goosebumps talking about it, man. I remember seeing it in the theater and actually tearing up. I mean, I do that with a lot of movies. Don't get me wrong. I get goosebumps and I tear up.
I think you've mentioned it every time.
Yeah,
you cried during a movie.
Right. So they're saying, we're not here to save all these people. That's not what we came here to do. And she says, no, but that's what I'm going to do. And that moment that she puts the tiara on, her cloak comes off, you see the shield, and she ventures out into the trench warfare of World War I, and you're like, holy moly. And this is so powerful because I think this is the moment in the film where she stops being Diana of Themyscira and starts and becomes Wonder Woman. And she doesn't do it by herself. So this is, to me, this is what feminism really is she goes out there and sure, she blocks the bullets and she takes all the fire, but it's her working with her men, her squad of guys, her ragtag group of men together as a unit to get the job done. This is what feminism really is. And to me, it's so powerful of a scene. And believe it or not, I've read that Patty Jenkins, the director, had to fight the studio to keep this in the film.
They were going to cut it. It was like a Somewhere Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz. They were so close to cutting it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and that was actually one of the few DC moments that hit my radar. And actually, when I was talking this over with my wife, she kind of pointed out the Wonder Woman thing, because I'm not a big DC guy, but this was one that I was like, yeah, it's a moment of some sheer badassery, but I really wasn't thinking about it as a moment of feminism, in the sense of working together in a partnership to achieve a noble goal. And I think that's a really important thing that you've highlighted there, that and this isn't trying to get political, but the idea of that some people get in their heads about feminism, it's like, well, women are better than men. It's not what it is. It's not traditionally anyway. And the idea is that women can achieve things too. And I think that's actually a really good way to look at that scene, that there's a partnership going on there.
absolutely.
So,
That's why
this reminds that is a very good first pick, and that was absolutely on my top 5. But this reminds me of a time when this movie had first come out here in Austin. There is a really cool theater, there's a chain of theaters, Alamo Drafthouse, and they had a women exclusive viewing of Wonder Woman. And Zoom is telling me I have to upgrade.
No, it says it's been upgraded by the host.
So this theater had an all-female viewing, no dudes allowed. And somebody complained, and the theater was like, "No, this is what we're doing. This is fine. Trust us. It's okay." And so the guy then goes to the mayor of Austin and complains, and the mayor of Austin says, I don't think this is where you belong then. Not all, like the theater, right? It just sounds like this is not like something that you should take part in. Sounds like it's not something that harkens back to this no man's land, because it literally is no man, because Wonder Woman is the person who actually approaches the problem.
Right.
And it just like, it reminds me that there are issues that are like difficult for some people, especially three white men talking about feminism on a podcast. But like, it's nice that we have this view into something that is so different from our world, that we can see something powerful being represented. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
It is a little bit, before we go, it is a little bit hearkening to that Tolkien-esque Return of the King ending with Éowyn and the Witch King of Angmar.
Always
I am no man, and jabbing the Witch King in the face.
Yeah.
It has that.
Which in the book, Pippin?
No, it's Mary.
Mary
stabs him in the back of the knee.
He does it in the movie too, but the blade has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's a
because it's Tom
Gondolin
Bombadil,
through
whatever.
blade.
It's the
Just
blade.
getting into real nerddom over here.
Well, the blade is from the it's of like
Gondolin.
Westerness. Yeah, it's well, it's not an elven blade. It's from one of the rival kingdoms to the Witch King's old place of Angmarth. We are all superhero.
Well, it's relevant.
You just wait till we get to Tolkien.
Okay.
So
Can't wait to talk about the hobbits.
No, I can wait.
Okay.
All right, Steven, it's your turn for your number one pick.
Oh, I'm number 2. Then my number 1 pick was the funeral scene at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Ooh, we got some teary eyes on the call right now, guys.
Yeah, dude. Yondu.
That was powerful,
Rest
man.
in peace.
Rest in power.
Spoiler
Yondu.
warning, I guess. We should have done a spoiler warning.
Maybe put that at the
I think all of our podcasts are spoiler
heavy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I hope you don't go to a movie podcast expecting to not get spoilers.
Unless it's like non-spoiler reviews.
Hmm.
But they're advertised as such.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that moment was such a payoff for the entire film. Like that was like everything that it had been building up for, and it meant something to every character. You know, all of the Guardians, plus Mantis. You know, including Mantis now. But like, how powerful was that? That like there was validation at the end. Like we knew who the character of Yondu was. We knew what he had gone through and how bad he had been. But there was this like there was a reward at the end because of the like the you know you can have some bad stuff, but like in Doctor Who, you have a pile of good and you have a pile of bad things in your life.
Right.
The one doesn't necessarily cancel out the other. He was at his core a decent person, and we saw that celebrated in the end.
So you're just taking the celebration, or you taking the Yondu's sacrifice and the celebration of his life and death?
I mean, no, I'm gonna only take the funeral because we see Yondu laying on the table. So like the before when he's still alive is up.
So I think, yeah, because this is, I mean, everything leading up to this, like his, you know,
I mean, it's connected.
I may have not been your father, but I'm sure it was your daddy or something like that. And then I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Michael Rooker is amazing.
I mean, like, one of the tricks about these drafts where you're doing moments or scenes is, I think that it's basically kind of like that moment where you get the goosebumps, everything that's led up to it. Like the funeral scene doesn't mean as much as it does, you know, without the whole movie that comes before it. So that's the funeral scene's the moments where you get the goosebumps kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that we're going to have to play, you know, a little bit flexible with rules in what you're claiming versus what you're not. But yeah, no, I think, and that was one I considered, but it didn't make the short list. And I mean, I got my short list right here, but like,
you got it on old school pen and paper.
I got it on old school pen and paper, and
nice.
It helps me get it down. I had it on my phone, and I was like, no, I have to write it. But that scene is really good, but I wasn't actually thinking about the funeral scene as much as I was the scene where he actually sacrifices himself. But that's really just between Yondu and Quill, not really everybody else.
Right. Where the reason I brought the funeral scene and the fireworks celebration and everything was because you saw the payoff for everybody, right? You saw Rocket coming to terms with his like his own issues, his demons of like pushing people away, and how like he's getting this validation that's like, that sucks, but that's not the only thing that can define you, you know?
Right.
Etc.
I think it's good. I'm down with that for a solid number 1 for Team Steven. Okay. For my number 1, I am going to go with what I think is the obvious answer for somebody who is an MCU fanboy. And that is the final Avengers Assemble moment.
Assemble.
It's on my short list for sure.
I think it's like the obvious number one for me, and I thought it was going to get taken with and it starts out so subtle with with Falcons on your left, which it's a great recall.
That callback, man.
To their first meeting,
right? And from what was it? Winter Soldier, the beginning of Winter Soldier. He's coming on your left. He's passing them up, and everything.
You know what?
What's that?
The end of this movie, the first thing Cap hears is Falcon on your left, and they've built this such a relationship now. But the end of this movie, there's a payoff of Falcon getting the shield.
Right.
He's going to take up the mantle of Captain America.
Yeah.
Or he's Steve's choice.
But this moment, the on your left, Avengers Assemble, it really is the culmination of, what was it?
11 years worth.
11 years of MCU movies.
Yep.
Starting with RDJ's Iron Man, and then you're just like,
talk about a payoff.
Right. And that, and Endgame has a lot of payoff moments, and if I wasn't trying, I could have drafted just Endgame.
That could be a separate draft between me and you.
Honestly, it could be the best moments of Endgame, and that would really be a doable thing, and I'm going to try to not. But just everybody coming in, it's a Deus Ex Machina moment. It's but it's kind of in the way it's not really just the end. We haven't just won. It's like, no, this is going to be a real fight. Even though, but you see, it's like Captain America. He's just gotten up. The shield is broken.
He's by himself.
Everybody else is down for the count. And no
the score. There's like very minimal score. It's very quiet.
Do you know who did the score for this? Because I think Alex Silvestri wrote the Avengers theme. Okay.
I think. I could be wrong.
It's so good here. Everything about this, it's goosebumps every time. Single time.
Yes,
I've watched this movie so many times already. And it's cinematic classic. And that's the obvious choice for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just everything leading up to that moment, because you get big battles right before that, and you get Cap and everybody and Thor, and you get Cap. He gets Mjolnir. He gets Thor's hammer, and you get all this stuff first, but then when he says Avengers, gets the Mjolnir again. He calls it back to him again, and then he goes, assemble. Talk about a payoff. And this is, the whole Mjolnir thing's a callback to, that's a whole moment in and of itself.
It is.
My theater blew up, but my theater also blew up at this moment when he goes, assemble. And then you're just like, yes.
I knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. So you said original music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alan Silvestri, my bad. He wrote the Avengers theme, and that it's through all the Avengers movies. So you're getting that, you're already invested in this theme that kicks in, really, carries the momentum through the whole entire moment.
Right.
So, and that I think that speaking of themes and musical score. That is always, I think, taking superhero moments, a lot of the times the score has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, well, I think that's with any cinema.
Yeah, the score, Star Wars does it too, but the score that's what gives you the goosebumps. You could watch these movies without music and you're probably like 50% less hype.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
And because
the
the Avengers,
so much of it.
right, and because the Avengers theme is so iconic now, and so, let's say, I mean, it's great. It really propels this moment, into this final battle.
Agreed.
Oh yeah.
Jamie, you're on the clock again, buddy.
All right, I get my second pick. And that's the way the snake draft works.
So round 2, Jamie's first pick.
All right, guys. Now I'm gonna take it down a notch. I'm gonna stay Marvel, but I'm gonna leave the MCU. I am gonna go all the way back to the first Spider-Man
Yes, I
film
knew it.
with
Knew it.
Uncle Ben.
Yes.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things about this is basically the reason why I'm choosing this is because I think it rolls with the entire theme of what we're doing here, because it is the theme for all superhero movies.
Yeah, it is. This is the crux of all superheroes.
So, and one of the things I kind of looked at with this, knowing that if one of y'all didn't pick it, I would. I kind of wanted to see if this was something that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby had cribbed or what. And it does. It shows up. It shows up during the French Revolution. It shows up even versions of it, kind of. Even in the Bible, it's like, to whomever much is given, of him much will be required, and to whom much was entrusted, of him more will be asked.
Wow.
And
Uncle Benjamin.
And it's got that level. It's proverbial, and even like our own Supreme Court has used the concept, and it really, like, I know during like the colonial administration under Churchill used something similar, and it's really kind of important. And the whole thing is like, why did the superheroes do these things?
Yeah.
And honestly, is it something that you have to consider for yourself? Because as a person who has some power, some agency, what are you doing with it? And I guess it kind of harkens to the moment with Peter Parker and Tony Stark in Civil War. I think it's in Civil War. Yeah, where Tony's visiting Peter Parker, and he's like, when Peter says, when you do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
I was just about to put that in there.
Yeah. This is such a big thing. And it basically is the theme of a lot of, at least in the premise of why we have superheroes at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and this strange 2020 land, I mean, everybody could use this sort of uplifting hope. I mean, I meant to talk about this in our beginning before we even started draft picks, but these moments, a lot of the time, they represent hope and represent something larger than life, and this is definitely the crux of all of it, of all the superhero moments. And you can, I mean, it harkens back to my first pick. This is her decision, but it's what I'm going to do. Wonder Woman makes this decision that, these people are starving and I have the power to save them. And she does, with the help of her people, with her help of her squad. So this is, without the great power comes great responsibility sort of thing. You kind of don't have most superheroes, or any of these moments, really. All right, Steven, it's back to you, buddy.
All right. Number 2. I don't know if y'all are ready for this. My number 2 is in Avengers Endgame when Fat Thor recalls Mjolnir.
Nice.
So
I mean, we don't get any of these other moments with Cap without him recalling Mjolnir.
That's right. But it's a very nice moment. He sees his mother again right before she's going to die. He has lived 5 years, like fading away into his whatever he is experiencing, his depression or his acceptance of failure, whatever he is dealing with. But as a plus-sized guy who maybe didn't live up to his full potential, it's a really nice moment to see somebody who looks like me get up on screen and be a hero. It was a sweet moment.
I still have that video of you in Toys R Us with you just standing there, Steven, and you say Mjolnir to me, and I throw a toy Mjolnir at you, and you catch it.
We were nothing if not badasses.
You're going to have to find that now and post it on our Cine-Siblings social media.
It's somewhere. It's for sure somewhere. But you think the words he says is, I'm still worthy.
I'm still worthy.
Right.
Yeah. And if he doesn't recall Mjolnir here, he dies.
Yes, Thanos
kills Thor in the battle in Endgame because he's about to get killed with Stormbreaker, and Captain America saves him with Mjolnir.
I don't know that if he is unable to recall Mjolnir.
This is true. He's probably done.
Right. I don't know that he ever goes to have a showdown with Thanos at all. But here's and I was not a fan of Thor's devolution in Endgame, but I had to warm up to it, let's say, and on a few watchings, part of it is I don't like fat suits, and I don't think it was necessary to show him physically out of shape to demonstrate his deep depression.
But they all sort of, all the main Avengers, this story is about all of their dealings with failure and depression, right, except maybe Hulk, who dealt with that failure in Infinity War. He deals with it differently. I mean, he becomes Smart Thor. I mean, Hulk, or what? Professor Hulk. Yeah. In this film, when we find him,
which really needs its own movie.
It's not going to happen.
I know it's not,
because Universal has, all. That's one thing that sucks about Marvel, is that they don't have all their characters. I mean, they do now ish, kind of, because Hulk is still teetering or whatever. But I digress.
Yeah,
this is a great pick, Steven.
Thank you.
Very inspired choice.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, were all the different Avengers just going through different stages of grief? Yeah.
But this is one of those moments, and I think it's always good, and I've talked about it before. It's like with these bouts of depression, and Thor's is like situational. He's never been doubtful of himself. Never. We don't see a lot of character arc kind of stuff with Thor. We see stylistic changes, mostly due to writing and directing. But like he's much more relatable here, dealing with human problems and human failures. Like, he hasn't failed. So this is nice to know that just because you have failed, just because you don't feel worthy, it doesn't mean you aren't worthy.
Mm.
Absolutely. anything else, you guys, before I take my number 2 pick and then my number 3 pick? All right, so number 2, I'm trying to stick to like one moment per movie. Like, what's the moment, And I guess I have to go with what speaks to me, and that's
He's holding up a Superman shirt right now.
And that's true. I did. Man of Steel. Look, on my short list, I think there's 5 different moments from this film that give me goosebumps every single time. And it's the music, Hans Zimmer's score, it's Zack Snyder's and his cinematography, it's the direction of it, it's Henry Cavill completely embodying Superman. He looks the part, and the scene I'm going to take in my top 5 is when he takes flight for the very first time. We get the narration in the background from, to me, one of the greatest voices, vocal performance in Russell Crowe as Jor-El, saying, you can be a beacon of hope. And yes, this is definitely a callback. This is definitely inspired by the same exact sequence in Superman with Christopher Reeve. But you don't have Marlon Brando hamming it up. The effects are way better, obviously. But this one speaks to me. I get goosebumps every time I watch it. And he fails, he starts jumping like really high in the air, and then he finally figures out that he can fly, and then he falls out, and then he smashes through the mountain, and then he gets back up, and then we get more more narration from Russell Crowe's Jor-El, saying that you could be a beacon of hope to these people, and one day they will join you in the sun. And he takes off, and then he's flying around, and then the Hans Zimmer score builds and builds and builds, and you're like, this is Superman.
Well, it's certainly one of those moments that makes Superman more relatable. And that's always been one of, at least for a long time, one of the criticisms and one of the difficulties with dealing with Superman is that he is Superman. He is above man. He's morally more pure. He's physically so far beyond, and it's hard to relate in some way to him failing at something. And it's kind of interesting in this scene to see him not succeeding the first time he does it. And of course, you have to build up strong villains to fight him and things like that. But this doesn't, you can always find there's always a bigger fish, sort of moment. There's always a bigger bad guy that you can point out and make, more strong to meet your
Right.
hero's thing. But this is, him learning to fly, something that we really do take for granted for Superman. So it's kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, he's not this. You said villains and super powerful villains. Obviously, this movie, General Zod, another Kryptonian, but this isn't have anything to do with the villain. This is just a moment of awe and wonder for me that is just catapulted even further by the amazing Hans Zimmer score. # release the Snyder Cut. Anybody? Steven, you got anything to say?
Nope. A coming of age tale. I love it.
I do love it. I love all the non-linear storytelling in the whole film. And ironically, this movie just the characters are more human than most superhero movies.
All right, Ian, it's time for your third round pick.
My third round pick.
We're at the top of the third round.
Ooh, okay. So I'm got a 3 and 4 battle for me, and I'm breaking away from DC, man. I'm breaking away. I'm going Marvel, but neither of these movies are MCU movies. So I think I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 2, Stopping the Train. I mean, it's a GIF now, and I mean, it's full of memes. I mean,
Careful with him. He's a hero.
yeah. I mean, he does everything within his power to save these people after a brutal battle with Doc Ock. And I mean, this is one of those moments that will never be topped. They try to kind of pay homage to it with the boat scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, and I mean, I literally rolled my eyes. I'm like, can't be a little more original.
Really?
This is a moment in superhero movies that is so huge, so iconic that it's kind of, I don't know. Anyway,
this is Superman picking up the airplane, right?
Right, which is not physically possible. But anyway,
well, I mean, I get it, and the film is the moment is an excellent moment of heroism, and it's one of those things that it's always cool to get that moment where you're pushing your superhero to the brink, to beyond what they think they can physically do. But one of the things it's you talked about the homage to it, but really what it's kind of there's just a lot of homages of Spider-Man with saving people full of trains.
Saving people full of trains.
Saving trains full of people.
Got
Sorry.
it. There you go.
I'm done full up on trains, y'all.
Y'all. But they do this in the first Spider-Man film, except of course it's Mary Jane and the train full of people, and he manages to save them both. But the original one comes from the comics, where he's got to save Gwen Stacy, or the train full of people, and he has to let Gwen Stacy die. That's the first
death,
right? And that is defining for Spider-Man, because he finally has to realize he has to outweigh his own personal desires and wants over that of others. But that kind of strays beyond the thing. But the whole idea of Spider-Man saving people.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, but like, it's very, I mean, they obviously paid homage to this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming when he saves the boat. And he's like,
but he doesn't save the boat.
I know, he fails.
Iron Man saves the boat.
Gotcha. I know. Okay, got it. Sure. But after immediately, this is part of the moment, is he is spent, he goes to fall down into, I guess this is an an elevated train, and he goes to fall down, and the people inside save him, and they carry him.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is just a boy, not any older than my son. And when he wakes up, he realizes that he doesn't have his mask on, and the kids go, it's okay, we'll keep your secret. So good. So powerful.
Good. In a time before cell phones. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I really didn't.
This kind of reminds me, but like, nobody knows who the hell this kid is, but this kind of reminds me of that Justice League episode where Lex Luthor like embodies the Flash, and he's like, haha, I'll find out who the Flash is. And he takes the mask off, and he goes, I don't know who this is.
Yeah. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Steven.
All right. For
buddy.
My number 3, I put down Wonder Woman's No Man's Land. So what do I do in this scenario?
Find another scene, buddy.
Take your number 4. See, that's why we have a short list.
Yeah, I got mine. There's like 20 scenes.
All right. My number 4, then my new number 3 is in Civil War, when Spider-Man actually shows up.
Yes.
Under rules. Under rules.
Under rules.
what a great moment, because like we had heard things about Spider-Man being I don't like to read a lot of spoilers, but like, you know, there was rumors that Spider-Man was going to be in it. He was in, yeah, so like, so you know something's about to happen, but then it like shows up at this epic battle. It was such a good moment, and I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man. So that was a really cool moment for me.
Well, it was one of those things that, and Spider-Man was my comic of choice. So
I mean, we grew up in the
realizing
90s. It was everyone's comic of choice and television cartoon of choice. And
no, because a lot of people watched X-Men and read X-Men
but
comics.
both those were the two.
Was it?
But the seeing Spider-Man in the MCU when we didn't think we were gonna.
Right.
I mean, I guess that made it a bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think ever has the ownership of intellectual property been so hotly followed by fans.
Right. It would have been like if Wolverine had showed up in Endgame.
Yeah.
Logan's here?
You know what I wanted in Endgame? Is all the Netflix, like the Defenders.
Oh, that would have been great.
Punisher, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. That would have been. And like,
but there's no time.
Never mind. Yeah,
it would. Yeah.
And I mean, I also don't like that we have like 18 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Clark Gregg's Agent Coulson never shows back up. And he's his death is like the crux of them getting back together or getting together in the first place. So
that's true. That is a little bit of a letdown. But no, I think Spider-Man's debut, and that was one of the things I had on my short list for debuts. I had 2 debuts, Spider-Man and Wonder Woman. But for my 3rd round pick, that is not what I took. What I took is actually a DC moment, and Ian's getting excited here, where in The Dark Knight, Batman takes the blame. He takes the blame for the murders that from Harvey Dent, and or Two-Face, you know, and you know, he's having this conversation with Gordon, and you know, it's like, no, I'm not going to be. I have to be this kind of hero. This is the hero we need, and you know, it's really thematically, it's so troubling because we always associate heroism with glory and respect, but really, in reality, being a hero, it's not always glorious. Sometimes it comes with inglory and infamy and getting the hatred and getting despised for the things that you may have done or may not have done. And like, and that's often what happens with real heroes.
Yeah. And this is kind of, you know, a play on the great responsibility thing, is this, that he takes this as his responsibility, that he should take the blame for all the murder that Harvey Dent causes. Which, I mean, this whole Harvey Dent Two-Face is like a snowball effect of Batman's choices, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Joker's choices.
Well,
the Joker tricks him. Well, he thinks he's going to save Rachel, and instead he sees Harvey Dent. Which, if he had saved Harvey Dent, which he probably should have chosen to save Harvey Dent, we wouldn't have Two-Face in the first place. But yeah, for sure, good pick.
Oh, I get another pick, don't I? I get to start off the 4th round.
You
All
sure do.
Now I'm going to be leaving the Marvel and DC spheres.
Row.
And I am
Mommy.
actually going to go into a little bit of a dark area as far as superheroes are concerned.
Spawn.
No. I actually
The
didn't
Boys.
consider Spawn. No, The
The
Boys
Boys?
is not cinema. That is TV. So I'm actually going to go into 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Go
Not
ninja, go ninja, go.
so.
Ooh.
There were no, not
Ninja.
not
Ninja.
Turtles
Rat.
2. Not Turtles 2. Y'all shut up.
Secret of the Ooze?
No. Okay, so 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was a lot darker. The second one was good, but much more children's movie. This was like a kids movie that was really dark and like could appeal to adults. But there were a couple scenes that I could have picked from this, but the one I decided to settle on was the final showdown with the Shredder, where the turtles, they kind of start, they make fun of him, they go at him one-on-one, take turns one-on-one and each get beat.
The trope, yes.
Well, and here's one of the interesting things. It's usually the villains that go, okay, we're going to attack them one at a time. And they do it purposely here, to trying to fight with honor. And they get their butts handed to them. And there's really good, it's good choreography, but it's really cool because they lose. They don't beat him.
Only together, with their powers combined.
Well, no, it's really they Splinter basically lets the Shredder take care of himself.
Yeah.
And
Spoiler alert.
It's from 1990. If you got that many problems, So anyway, I think it's a really cool superhero moment. It's a moment of failure and showing weakness and trying to come together, and even if you do everything right, sometimes you still fail. And I like that about it.
For sure. Man, I haven't watched this movie in a while, dude. But that's like a deep pull.
Turtles in Time was better, but
Turtle.
okay.
No.
Bold take. All right, Jamie, that was your fourth?
That was the start of the fourth round.
All right. So, Steven, it is to you.
The year 2002. The actor, Macho Man Randy Savage. The movie, Spider-Man.
Yes.
So, go back.
Bonesaw McGraw.
Bonesaw McGraw was my favorite. I had just gotten into wrestling as a child, and I found wrestling because it would come on right before Star Trek: The Next Generation. So I just learned who all these people were when I was trying to watch Captain Picard and Data do their stuff. So I knew who Macho Man Randy Savage was going into this film. I'm like, Bonesaw McGraw? I can get into this. Was such a delight to see him in there. What a nice cast they had in that film. James Franco, Willem Dafoe, and my man, Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
So, but this is the fight, right? Where
he
wins the money and then he doesn't stop the burglar or whatever.
Yeah, Robert.
And then that guy ends up killing Uncle Ben, who is retconned to end up being Sandman in the third film.
Yeah. The killer of Uncle Ben. Yeah.
Nice. That was an interesting take. I wasn't thinking of that one.
Right. Well, I wanted to have something different that I knew no one else would have that was still fun for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a good scene. It's part of, it's really part of the origin story. of Spider-Man, and that actually pulls. That means so far we've got 2 from the original.
From Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Well, 3 from the trilogy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, 3.
Right.
Because we each have one.
You brought the evil dancing Spider-Man from 3, right?
That's
Ian?
not what I did. No, I did the train stop and the people saving Spider-Man. And then Jamie took great power comes great responsibility. And then you took his battle with Bonesaw McGraw, Roger Van Randerschapper.
But this is really when he's trying to figure out what to do with his powers, and that's a really kind of interesting thing to explore with a superhero movie and with an origin story in a world. We weren't devoid of superhero movies at this point, but like with X-Men, we weren't really exploring what are they going to do with their powers. Well, we know because Professor X is already established. Just this random guy. Kid.
What does a guy? Yeah, what does a kid do? I don't know. Fight for money? What do I do?
Right.
I think it's cool to explore.
Mm.
And it maintains the illusion that pro wrestling is
not fake.
That's what did you say?
It's not.
I love.
And then now
wrestling.
we move on.
All right, my number 4 pick. Okay, my number 4 pick is another non-MCU Marvel, and it is from the probably.
Wait, I know it. It's from the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Enter Galactus. This is it's Logan. This is probably, I think, one of the best crafted superhero films since The Dark Knight. James Mangold does a hell of a job, but the scene I want to take and talk about is X-23. When she throws off that backpack and her claws slip out and you see Logan's face and he goes, oh, I know who she is now. I know what they've done. And she goes absolutely berserker mode, just straight up shredding these bad guys, and they're starting to shoot at her, and they're like, oh no, stop shooting, she heals, and she runs off. They chase her, and her kill count is incredible. And then like Logan saves her, and then he saves Professor X, and then he gets in the car and drives off, or the limo, with Professor X, and Professor X says, see, Logan, I told you she's a mutant like you, very much like you. And that moment where Professor X, he's had this, he's got like dementia, Alzheimer's problems, and he can't really function properly. He's been telling him that this is a mutant like you, this whole movie leading up to this, and you're like, oh, she's basically his clone. But this is my scene of badassery, is when she just goes absolutely berserker mode on these dudes.
Nice. The film itself, I heard how awesome it was, and then when I watched it,
don't you do it?
There was something about it that it did not resonate with me. But it had the same problem as all the X-Men films tend to have, where I'm like, wait, what timeline are we in? It was because
Hugh Jackman's in all of them.
Right. Well, it's like, and he comes back into it, like, it's like, wait, isn't he dead? No, I don't know where we are in time.
But it's kind of the point. It doesn't matter. This is like an Elseworlds one-shot story that is, like you get these in comic books all the time. You get the Dark Knight Returns with Frank Miller, and it's an Old Man Logan. When Old Man Logan, this is an adaptation of Old Man Logan, the comic books. This is a one-shot story. Yes, right. You can harken back. They call back to little things, little Easter eggs here and there when they talk about what happened at the Statue of Liberty, which calls back to the first X-Men in the year 2000. So, I mean, dude.
It doesn't, I just don't, part of the problem is it works in comic books because of how many you get. I don't find that Logan is a great standalone film, except that it wouldn't stand alone without establishing who all
I
the
disagree.
surviving characters are. It doesn't. Well, you can't have
But we already
Wolverine without the
know
other.
who these characters are as comic book fans.
Right, but there's something lacking in it because it's obviously a sequel, but we don't know how things have gotten the way they've gotten. It's so bleak. But anyway, that's, I guess, a more of a.
Says the dude who likes the movie we just talked about. I keep thinking The Last of Us, but A Quiet Place. It's so bleak and dystopian, and you don't know what the hell these things came from or anything, except for little bitty clues throughout the movie that aren't said. They're shown to you, and then they're actually alluding to Professor X, who caused all of this, the mutant die off in the first place. So I don't really get what you're talking about. Maybe you need to give the film a second chance.
I do see a little of what Jamie is saying because that is world building. I think Logan felt like it did not have to do a lot of universe world building of like we know who these people are and this is how the universe works, where The Quiet Place had to explain the rules.
But they
I do see that missing a little bit.
I mean, it's a dystopian, obviously a sort of a dystopian future that was caused by Professor X kind of losing his mind, which we get alluded to throughout the entire film. Anyway,
well, okay.
I don't like y'all trash talking one of my favorite superhero films. I'm going to go make my fifth and final pick.
Go ahead. We'll do a deep dive into Logan someday.
Oh, yes, we will.
Oh,
all right.
I'm going to be busy that day.
I've spent my entire draft dodging the MCU, and now I'm going to take one at 5.
I can't believe you.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to take it, aren't you? Do it.
It's Black Panther. When he is in the king's realm for the second time, and he gets to confront his father about Eric Killmonger. And he's saying, you were wrong to abandon him. And he said, his father says, we made the choice. We chose Wakanda. We chose our people. And he said, you were all wrong. This is the pivotal moment for Black Panther for me. You were all wrong, to shut yourself off from the rest of the world. I won't stop, I'm going to do what's right, basically. And this is the turning point for Black Panther. This is his pivotal moment as a hero. And I mean, goosebumps every time. Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace.
Rest in power.
What
buddy.
A beautiful performance in this film. And I mean, just changed this movie and Wonder Woman, I think, have changed the landscape for superhero movies forever. These are two movies that we are going to talk about 20 years from now, that kind of jump started this, more inclusive superhero films, standalone films. So, but this is the moment for me in the film where he tells his father, who, he's looked up to his entire life, that he was wrong. And he decides to open up, defeat and dethrone Eric Killmonger from Wakanda's throne, and then, opens up Wakanda to the rest of the world.
And I like that you picked this. Black Panther is one of those films that it does really well in playing on classic Jungian archetypes. And the setup they have here is really the noble king versus the tyrant king. And this is where you have one noble king to another saying, no, you were wrong. There are other paths of nobility.
Yeah, but he doesn't just say it to his father. He says it to the rest of the kings that are in the background, his ancestors. And he says, right. You were all wrong.
Right. And the thing is that it, in a lot of ways, like, Black Panther was hailed as being very progressive in a lot, but it was also conservative too. And I think that's one reason the movie resonates so well with everybody, is because it says, there are virtues and there are ways of doing things that we have done for a long time, but just because it's been the way we've done it for a long time doesn't mean it's the only way or the right way. But we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. And so I think that that's one of the really great things about that film in general. And I think that this scene really is a good pick on that.
And I mean, this movie is huge. I mean, I don't think, before this you would have an 6-7-year-old white boy being Black Panther for Halloween like your son did.
Yeah, he sure did.
Which is one of those things. It's like, wow, like this is, not only do we have this a black superhero film that's actually like powerful in what it has to say, but it like you said, it resonates with everyone, and it gives it gives black boys somebody to look up to. And I mean, it's so tragic what has happened with the actor Chadwick Boseman, that I mean, it's devastating for the Black Panther fan community, Marvel, everything really. Steven, anything?
It's so good. I loved having the representation of non-white, non-Christian things here, right? That this is this is a far cry from like what we see in all the other films, that there's this ancestral based spirituality, and it was so cool to see that like brought to life on the screen. So it was powerful for many reasons, but I also just enjoyed being taken out of the experiences that I was familiar with.
Absolutely agree. But guess what? It's your pick again, buddy.
Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
so
we try to refrain from it in the drafts, but if the movie is I think rated R,
yeah,
we'll obviously we're going to have quotes, so we'll say those curse words.
I will save the potty mouth then, because I know you guys are going to dunk on this choice.
Because my son listens to this, so all right, let him dunk on it.
Shout outs. I know you guys are going to dunk on this. So I'm going to come in angry. So I don't care what y'all say. I know this is contrived, and I don't care, because the women defending Spider-Man in Endgame is a beautiful moment.
No, it's not.
It's look, just because someone plans on putting on makeup and going out and looking nice does not mean it's contrived. It can be beautiful.
Okay. I just think this is so okay. Go on. Sorry.
It's powerful. That there are multiple women in this group who are not only able to show up and like be badasses and come out in force, but they are willing to. That they have a voice and they have the ability and they use it to do what is good. And that is, I will take that to the grave, that is contrived but beautiful.
I mean, I think the first time I watched it, I was like I always get that kind of way when I see these kind of moments in film. If we were doing a Star Wars draft, I would really high up on my draft, it would be Rey calling the hero's saber to her and going to her instead of Kylo. I think that is huge, and it's one of those, very feminist moments. But this one just feels like it was forced down my throat.
Well-
And it's like we got them all to team up in this moment. It didn't quite make sense within the film because they were all off fighting, doing their own thing. And then
That's how wars pop off, Ian. It's wild. You don't understand.
I know. Okay, sure. And then Captain Marvel just does it all herself anyway.
Well, and one of the things, because I talked about this topic with my wife, Sarah, and, we were talking about, like moments that popped out to us, and she brought this up, that she said it felt weird to her as a woman. It felt kind of pandering. And I don't remember if that was the term she used, but that's the vibe that I got from it anyway. And that's kind of what I felt with this, is that it was pandering. And like, even I don't like, personally, I don't like being pandered to. So I saw this as so when you're pandering to anybody, it kind of just seems like, well, why? Like, did you feel like you really needed to add this to the film for a particular reason, or could you have done it more organically? Does it have to be a team up of all the women? Because I think Captain Marvel is, at least right now, the MCU's Superman, in that no real weaknesses, super strong, doesn't even really seem to have that big of a problem with the big bad guy.
One weakness she does have is she cannot be everywhere at once. That's why she needed friends.
But
that's
Superman
fair.
also has that same problem, but his weaknesses are kryptonite and the women in his life. So,
True.
But as far as I know, she doesn't really have any of those weaknesses.
Right. Well, and I know that in the comics, like she and War Machine, Rhodey have kind of a thing. But
I thought she had a thing with Luke Cage, but I could be wrong.
I thought it was Rhodey, but
you're probably right.
Anyway, that doesn't seem to really make a thing in the film, other than, like a glance, that's probably more platonic than anything else. But hey, it's certainly an iconic moment. I think that it certainly stands, and if it didn't at least get an honorable mention, I think we would certainly hear about it.
I'll take it.
All right. So now I am at a bit of a disadvantage here, because
Is this your final pick?
Yeah, it's my final. No, yeah, it's my final pick, and I have like 3 more I want to do. No, actually, I have like
we get 2 bench warmers.
I have like 4 I want to do. And I was going to do something from Civil War regarding Black Panther, but I'm actually going to save it. And because I expected this one to go, and I am going to take one that I didn't actually even have in my top 7. I'm going to go back to it. I Am Iron Man. The first time. The first
so much short
good.
list.
And what it does for us is it really opens up the superhero world to us, the audience, and it kind of removes the dramatic irony that can sometimes feel overbearing, where we know who everybody's secret identity is, but nobody else around knows, and it's really kind of a drag in some ways. And it opens it all up. And of course, we know that this later will get that playback at the end of Endgame. But this I Am Iron Man. I am Iron Man. Like Tony Stark and Iron Man, the same guy. It's so good, and it really does. It sets up the MCU.
But it's like he's got this whole speech prepared.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this whole moment where he's supposed to say that it's a bodyguard in a suit, blah blah blah. But this is almost just going to the egotistical Tony Stark, where he's like, well, I don't want somebody else taking credit for what I did.
True.
And I think that's why he does it. It's not some sort of like, I mean, it is, but heroic moment. It's his it's sort of his ego going, I'm Iron Man. I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
Like, yeah, give me credit. It's not some other guy.
It's such good characterization, though, and it's one of those things of, like, it is egotistical. But, you know, we've seen him grow throughout that first film, but it also lets us know he's got a lot more growing to do, and his life just got 10 times more complicated because of it.
But you know what? What follows is awesome, is the after credit sequence in this film. Stephen, it is in this film because it's Nick Fury approaching him going, you think you're the only superhero in this world? You've got another thing coming. Like, you know, like, so, yeah, this is a huge moment. And of course, we get the iconic moment in Endgame, the super payoff of the snap, the Iron Man snap, and the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Which, wow, how that didn't make it in 15 picks.
Yeah, well,
crazy to me.
I felt like I couldn't pick that one and skip the first one. And I felt like the first one connected to it enough. But do I get my bench warmer first, since we're doing this snake draft?
We'll give our guest the first bench warmer.
All right, fair enough.
So
just to say, bench warmers is our way of saying honorable mention.
Okay, gotcha.
We're gonna get 2 just in case our movie breaks down. We get to sub this one in. Our VHS eats the tape, and
then I guess my first one then would be Wonder Woman. In the moment they're camping, they're out in the wild, and the Scotsman, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, but, the sniper, the Scottish sniper.
Yeah, and he has night terrors, and we see Wonder Woman in a. So I spoke with my fiance about this, and this was a thing that she didn't like, because it was a woman on screen performing her duties as a woman and comforting someone in need, like being matronly, and she was not a fan of that, but it stuck with me because it was someone doing, like, this is a superhero, and this is someone who is, like, emotionally healthy and wants to, like, help people, whether that is fighting bad guys or being with you in a hard time.
Yeah, going
she will do it.
Meeting people where they're at, man.
That's good.
This person is great, not because they are a woman or a man or a superhero, but because they will do what is necessary for those in need.
I like it.
All right, Jamie, you can go.
All right. Well, I don't know. I really don't know how this one didn't make our list, but probably because we talked about it so much. It's Cap getting Mjolnir. I mean, it should have been on the list. But
theaters around the world erupted.
Dude, and
there were seismic readings that day.
Yeah, and I think that scene, it's so good. It's fan service. It harkens back to one of the comics, but it harkens back to one of the best scenes totally draftable, where all the superheroes at the beginning of Age of Ultron all the Avengers, I should say, are just sitting around having a party, enjoying their success.
Right before he goes to poo-poo.
Right. So, all right, Ian, what's your first honorable mention?
Well, dude, I've got 12. I've got 12 different scenes I've written down here. I have no idea which two I'm gonna pick from.
Number 3.
Number 3. So we got that one, and that one. All right, I'll take it. Whatever. Avengers Infinity War. Thor, Rocket, and Groot enter Wakanda through the Bifrost that is summoned through Stormbreaker. woo, like, hell yeah, this is the hell yeah moment. Everybody's like, ha ha ha, you're so screwed. Stormbreaker breaks through. I mean, up to this point, all of our heroes are losing this battle, getting overwhelmed by these little monster minion things. And Stormbreaker comes through and saves them all just with a one mere swoop. And it comes back to Thor, and they come through the Bifrost. And then guess what? A theme hits, Jamie. The Avengers theme.
Right.
And you're like,
because
pumped. You are so pumped in this moment. This is the moment for the film, for me. The most heroic moment, at least, is when Thor saves the day in Wakanda.
Almost.
Well, no, I mean, he does. He saves his hero. He saves his friends, which is important. I mean, if he doesn't come in, if he doesn't come in here, then the ones that would the end game doesn't happen, right? Anyway, I mean, that's basically any moments like these. It's a definitely high octane moment. Goosebumps every time I watch it.
Yeah. All right, Steven.
Let's see. Oh, I just had one. As you know, my list was short. You know what? The first Avengers movie, the first time I got that feeling, the first assemble,
the circle shot,
the
theme.
bow, and the
iconic
Hulk doing this thing where he like shakes his fists. Oh, that was so good. And it was the first time I remember the theater and the people I was with at the time. It was such a good moment.
Yeah. I mean, this is
beginning.
This is the iconic shot. I mean, this is it. But the problem with this film for me is that it doesn't hold up. I don't like the Joss Whedon dialogue is super not good. But this scene,
I disagree.
Well, that's because you're an MCU fanboy and apologist. But let's just say, and I mean, I'll say it. I'm a DC fanboy and apologist as well.
Which movie is better, Avengers, the first one, or Justice League?
Well, Justice League hasn't come out yet, as far as I'm concerned. We're going to get a 4-hour director's cut on HBO Max, and then I'll let you know.
Talking about apologism.
The trick, listeners, is to just get Jamie and Ian to fight, and then you sit back for an hour and a half.
I mean, you can say all you want, but the Justice League we got is basically all filmed by the same director of the Avengers.
Yeah, because I guess the first one didn't make the cut, but okay.
You need to do your research, buddy. Anyway, so yeah, that's a great moment in superhero cinematic history.
All right. So I'm going to stay in the MCU for my second and final bench warmer. So my last
surprise.
Yeah, shut up. My first bench warmer was Cap getting Mjolnir. So I'm going to stay in that theme and go to Civil War, where Cap reveals he knew the means about Tony's parents' deaths.
I mean, that's a huge moment, but I wouldn't call it any sort of superhero moment. This is
one of the things is it's pivotal. And
right, but
for us, no, hear me out. The reason why, one, sometimes telling the truth is the hardest thing you can do.
But he didn't.
He does. He held
only when he's forced to. That's not noble.
He was asked directly, and the thing is no, it's not noble, and that's the point. Captain America, whom we have this idea of him being wholly noble and superior morally, we realize and find out that, you know what, he's not perfect. And I think that is a pivotal moment for Captain America, not necessarily one that's super heroic. And I think it does cast Captain America in a bad light. I think the whole of Civil War casts him in a morally gray light, where he is doing everything he can, fighting friends in order to save his best friend who was guilty of some very heinous crimes. And I think that's an interesting moment. And I don't think it's a villainous moment, but I think it's one that's certainly pivotal.
I think your other bench warmer is him, Mjolnir, coming to him, and in Age of Ultron, he's unable to pick it up. I mean, it budges a little, but he's unable to pick it up. And I think Feige or somebody in that realm has stated that he was unworthy of Mjolnir because of his lie of omission here. So once this comes to light, they deal with him and Iron Man deal with this issue. The kiss and makeup in this movie, sort of.
Which one? Not till Endgame.
That's what I'm saying. Endgame.
Oh, in Endgame. Okay.
This is why he's able to pick up Mjolnir finally.
Yeah.
That imply that Thor doesn't lie?
It doesn't necessarily imply that.
This is a huge lie, though. This is life altering.
Also, Thor's not human. That's one thing we forget, and that's one of the things that Endgame kind of brings to us, is a more human Thor.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. I think you're the last pick here.
Yeah, this is our last
the last thing.
Sheesh. All right.
Do number 7.
All right. Let me see.
It's
1,
lucky.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dude, this is sweet.
I know.
It's a DC moment, but it's not the DC moment you think about. It's the introduction to V in V for Vendetta.
Oh.
Is he when he beats up the whatever the cops, the fingermen or whatever in the film, as they're called in the film, and he saves Evie, and his monologue, man, where he just says there's 30 something V words in the entire thing, and you're just like, what an introduction to this character. I'm in. Like this sells you on him as a sort of, I wouldn't call him superhero. So maybe that's why I didn't take it in my top 5, but he's the sort of vigilante anarchist character who's much more gray area in the graphic novel. But the introduction to V is one of the best introductions to your protagonist. Well, for me anyway.
Nice.
He's Batman with moral ambiguity, right? He's the Punisher. So,
but I mean, he's trying to overthrow the government. And the Punisher's not trying to do anything like that. He's just trying to clean up the streets. This dude is trying to overthrow a tyrannical dystopian government who very George Orwell reminiscent sort of power here. But
what governments aren't these days,
right? And
Bazinga.
But this is a sweet moment, and I'll just quickly highlight the other ones in my they aren't in my bench warmers.
Really, we're gonna do that?
Yeah, sure. Man of Steel.
Those were honorable mentions. These are honorable lightning rounds.
Yeah, Man of Steel destroying the world engine. This is where he becomes Superman. I feel like Batman v Superman when Wonder Woman saves Batman from Doomsday. Man of Steel when teenage Clark saves the school bus. Awesome moment. Batman v Superman, the warehouse scene with Batman. It's like playing an Arkham video game. It's just one of the most iconic Batman scenes ever filmed.
Okay, and one more.
We already talked about Mary Poppins, y'all, but Thor Ragnarok. Are you the god of hammers? That hammer was meant to help you channel your power. And then he blasts Hela out of the oblivion. What are you the god of? And the lightning strikes, and Led Zeppelin hits, baby. Led Zeppelin. I wanted to take that one
That
in
is
my
good.
top 5, but I
Mm.
decided that Black Panther is more powerful of a moment.
So I had Spider-Man being crushed under the building in Homecoming, and him just Tom Holland just nails it with that. And Black Panther at the end of Civil War, where he foregoes his revenge on Helmut Zemo, and where he says, "Vengeance has consumed you; it's consuming. Then I'm done letting it consume me. Justice will come soon enough." I think that is such a really powerful message. And one that we need to be reminded of. And then We Are Groot.
That's well, you told me I got one more, but I had that one on my list too.
Good. So I'm glad I got it for you. And then my last one was, and it was the other one from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was Splinter mentoring Raphael. It's a really good quote, and it's all about not letting anger consume you. It kind of goes with the Black Panther one, so I guess that's where I was. But that's my lightning round.
One that I deleted because it's more of the villain's moment is when Black Panther says we can save you to Eric Killmonger, maybe we can, there's still time, we can save you. And he says, why? So I can, you could throw me in some prison, bury me at sea with my ancestors, because they knew that death was better than bondage. That moment is huge, very powerful moment. But again, that's the villain. That's kind of the villain's moment. That's the villain's moment. And I think they might have made a mistake. I do think they made a mistake in killing Eric Killmonger off. I've talked to you, Jamie, about it. I think he's one of the greatest MCU villains. And they tend to do that. They tend to kill off some of their best villains. And they keep around some that are questionable. Like I know that they're going to bring Baron Zemo back. They've killed Thanos, but
I think he was actually a good villain.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
But he's not as relatable. Like he does have some relatable anger, but
yeah, his motives are relatable.
Right. So, and I think going into villainy would be a really good one. But
and the thing about Zemo is that it's his motives are within the theme of the film.
Sure. But we do need to recap our top 5.
Hold on. Do you have any lightning rounds, Stephen?
Oh, yeah.
I've got one. In Captain America, the first Avenger, there is a moment when he goes off and he saves all his friends plus 150 other American soldiers. And he is told, no, we're not going to go rescue your friends, right? The Men in Black guy, what was that guy? Or what was that
Tommy
actor?
Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. We're not going to do that, son. So he goes off and does it himself and comes back. The moment that they see there are 0 casualties and he has just brought everyone home by himself and they're all marching back. That's so good.
I have one Captain America moment that I didn't mention. I did write it down, but I failed to say it, is the helicopter flex in Civil War.
Yeah, that one's good.
Where he's holding the helicopter, and then of course Bucky's like this, and just almost kills him with the helicopter blades. But that was my Captain America moment.
One that my wife mentioned that I had on my list, but I forgot to do the handwriting bit, was Captain America coming back old. He gets to that date. And so she thought that was a really sweet moment.
This is crazy because, it wasn't until I watched the Netflix series Dark that I really understood this kind of version of time travel. Like, he goes back and he stays, and so he's here in the present. But he knew old girl had a husband and children and stuff. So at what point do you're ruining this man's life? But at the same time, Emily, my wife, was like, well, what if it was him?
Maybe it was him. Yeah.
I'm like, holy moly. What if it's him? This whole time, it's just, but then when he goes back, there's 2 Captain Americas still.
Time travel is messy. And
yes,
that was one of the things I really worried about with Avengers Endgame
But
and what they were going to do with it. Yeah, you have
this
that.
This is how we have Loki on the run now when he takes the cosmic cube.
And I can see it if you're going to like separate your movie cinematic universe with your television universe. I'm okay with that. I really do worry what it will do ultimately to the MCU if you're like, well, this movie is on Earth 616 and this movie is on Earth.
Well, we're going to find out how it works for DC because they're just putting all of it into a multiverse. You're getting Michael Keaton's Batman back with Ben Affleck's Batman in the Flash film, which is going to be crazy cool.
Sony's already played with it into the Spider-Verse too.
Well, yeah.
And so
there's a lot of talk about with the Multiverse of Madness, the new Doctor Strange film, and how he is going to be in the new the Spider-Man 3. He's already been cast. So you're going to have, there's Twitter everywhere. It's just pictures of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire saying like, bring them back, baby. Bring them back into this film and enter the Spider-Verse in live action, which would be crazy. I mean, it'd be awesome.
We'll see.
Anyway.
All right, we need to do our recap.
Let's recap. Steven, go for it. Recap your top 5 and your 2 bench warmers.
Let's see. My top 5 were Funeral Scene at Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Fat Thor Still Being Worthy, Civil War, where Spider-Man makes his appearance, or Macho Man Randy Savage as Bonesaw, and I stand by all my choices, and Spider-Man being defended by the women of Marvel.
And then your 2 bench warmers.
My 2 bench warmers were Wonder Woman comforting the Scotsman and the first Avengers Assemble. The first Avengers hot take of the whole.
The circle shot.
Yeah.
Where it like pans around the whole circle. And Jamie, go for it.
All right. So my number 1 was the Avengers Assemble from Endgame, where the whole MCU comes together. Number 2 was from the first, 2002 Spider-Man, Uncle Ben's Great Power, Great Responsibility speech. Number 3, from The Dark Knight, Batman Takes the Blame. Number 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Showdown with the Shredder. And number 5, I Am Iron Man the first time, from 2008's Iron Man. And so my first bench warmer was Cap getting Mjolnir. And the second one was Cap revealing his lie about knowing about the Winter Soldier's killing of Tony Stark's parents.
And my top 5 best superhero moments and 2 bench warmers. Number 1, Wonder Woman, No Man's Land. Number 2, Man of Steel, Superman Take Flight for the first time. Number 3, Spider-Man 2, saving the train and then being saved by the civilians. Number 4, X-23 going berserker mode, and she's a mutant like you, very much like you. And number 5, You Are All Wrong, Black Panther. And my 2 bench warmers, Avengers Infinity War, Enter Thor into Wakanda, and my second bench warmer, the introduction to V in V for Vendetta.
Okay. All right. And that
good
is
ones.
So I guess that's
our best superhero moments draft. I mean, we're going to come back and do the best super villain moments of the draft, which might be just dominated by Heath Ledger's Joker and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe, man.
I will say take it to the grave, but Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is the better Spider-Man villain.
So good.
He is really good.
But I have a soft spot in my heart for Willem Dafoe.
I mean, he's nutso. His acting is his facial acting is so crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll save the villains for next time. Until then, This has been the Cine-Siblings Draft.
I'm Ian.
I'm James.
And I'm Steven.
Thanks for joining us, Steven. Thanks for listening, everybody. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Cine-Siblings Pod. Thanks for listening.